Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Okay, AOC, what'd they say?
I mean, there's a lot of different things that we saw. I think there's a lot of people. First of all, it's important to note that Democrats, oftentimes when we lose elections, we think that we lost people to Trump. And that is true in circumstances, but they don't look enough at the fact that we also lost people to the couch. Mm-hmm. We have two people that we're running against. So a lot of
family, I do agree with her in regards of losing people to the couch. And I want to, add some context to it. Democrats count on uninformed voters. You want to know how I know? Just look at the Kamala Harris campaign in itself. And previous Democrats that ran for president, they would just say, hey, go out and vote, but they never substantiate or have your best interest to justify what they would do for the people. We, the people, you know what I'm saying, and having our best interest. It's like no policy in regards of having a game plan. They just say, look, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And it sounds good until it take place, but they never substantiate their whole point of why or how that plan is going to be incorporated and how it's going to have your best interest. That's what I mean by substantiate, right? So they're not trying to they're not trying to pitch to you anything. They're not trying to tell you anything. Basically, you just get out and vote for them. And when she's saying that they lost him to the couch, you never see this on the Republican side of individuals not voting and being lost by the couch when it comes to the Republicans, right? They go out and they are engaged and they vote from the Republican side. It's only a Democratic thing if you really look at it from the perspective of losing people to the couch, right? And then what happens is as you get older, like myself, I'm 25 years old and I have a child, and you start to be more open. You start to be more woke. And at the end of the day, you start being more informed because at the end of the day, it's bigger than you. And not only do you have your best interest for yourself, but it's bigger than you in regards of having your best interest as for your child first, right? And as you become more informed, you start to lean more into conservative principles. And I say that because at the end of the day, as once I was operating, and a lot of people were operating out of ignorance, they were being pressed among identity politics and gender war and divisiveness and because you're black and et cetera, et cetera. And then they would inform you differently than to incentivize you to say, you know what? I don't really rock with you because now I'm being more informed and the stuff that you're saying is not really with my spiritual beliefs. And on top of that, it's just totally different in regards to the extreme leftists and all the crap that's going on, right? We don't want urinals in women's bathrooms. And I say that often because at the end of the day, not only did they run that campaign as a reproductive thing, when we all know that it's not determined by, it's just determined by the states, depending on the state where abortion could take place. And at the end of the day, you're looking at it on a national level when you have to look at your local legislators and individuals like that within your state first, because they actually hold the power more than a national election. But I'm not going to get too deep in that. What I'm trying to say is, family, as you become more informed, you start being naturally more conservative. If you was a Christian and you was raised in a Christian family and you've been to church, you know what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, you have been conservative your whole life. And now you're moving different because at the end of the day, not only do you want limited government and you want to pave your own way and you don't want a handout, you want to be able to build something that you can pass down to your child and not be limited by the government, right? So the whole time you have been conservative and you just been operating out of ignorance. And that's why you couldn't see that you were naturally conservative the whole time and you were too caught on the pitch of identity politics, but they're not really telling you nothing, but they're telling you something just to fearmonger you or get you emotionally aroused, right? So, look, man, it's just a little, it's different now because now people are not falling for it this time. Like they would be able to do that in the past years, say Trump is a bad man and stuff like that. But now people's not going. And this is a different situation because look at the economy. Financially, this is affecting people's pockets. When you start talking about money and finances and affecting people's pockets, that's a different conversation. And it makes you look at the whole thing differently. And now you wonder why ultimately the result is changing the trajectory of the result, and why there was a landslide of a red sweep across this nation, and we the people have spoken. But at the end of the day, family, I want to continue to let her cook, and I want to see what she has to say, because I'm just adding the context at this point, and I also want to know you guys' perspective down in the comments. Let's go.
People say, this is why I voted for you and Trump. And some people say this is why I didn't vote or didn't vote top of the ticket.
Right. Skip the top of the ticket, which, by the way, there's been a lot of paranoia about the fact that Democrats were able to win statewide in some places while Kamala Harris lost. And I keep trying to tell people there are voters who go in and either just vote the top, Trump voters who will say, I just want Trump and don't care about Republicans, and the reverse, who say, I'm not voting top of the ticket, but I'll vote everybody else.
Right, right. And I think we saw some of that happen as well. But when it comes to people who split their ticket, I think a lot of people cited several different things. One is there is universal frustration in this country. Much of it, I actually think, justified, that is raging at a political establishment that centers corporate interests, billionaires, and puts their needs ahead of the needs of working Americans. And we know that we can either channel.
This is my example, man. This is the example right here. They're always touting about how billionaires are being selfish and they're robbing the working class people. But the individual, sorry, family. What I'm trying to say is they're always trying to tout about the wealthy and the rich. They are taken away from the working class people. But the individuals that are actually doing it is the Democratic Party, okay? And the reason why I say that, because nobody's upset with Elon Musk. You know what I'm saying? They're not upset with, I don't know, Mark Cuban. None of these people were going to be affected in the first place. They are upset because as the Democrats continue to enable to use your tax dollars and other people that didn't pay into the system to benefit off of you, and then replace you eventually by enduring themselves back to the Democratic Party. So again, what I'm trying to say is, family, ultimately is look at the migrant crisis, okay? You know what I'm saying? The migrant crisis alone shows that migrants are actually getting free housing and they're getting hotels and food cards, and they were getting cash payments from New York City and Chicago, and eventually allocating billions of dollars in order to support these people, even though they never paid into the tax system. Then they were upset because of that. Not Elon Musk, not Mark Cuban, because these people ultimately are wealthy. They won't be affected. So these are real life situations, real life circumstances. And at the end of the day, they keep having these same talking points trying to slander the wealthy. The wealth is the one that pay the most taxes out of it all to justify the cost and cover the cost for individuals who do not put into the system. They are getting hit the most first, actually. Then it ultimately comes down to the consumer, which is the working class people. So the working class people get hit the most because they're still trying to pave their way and pave their way and make their path as they continue to build and grow. But it's being limited by continuing to get taxed. Because that's all they tout is tax. If you tax more of the rich, ultimately you're going to tax more the other class categories, such as the middle class, the working class people, and the poor, right? You know what I'm saying? So we gotta stop this nonsense and be more informed.
This righteous rage, because there are people whose SNAP was cut off, their child tax credits were cut off, but they're seeing people like Elon Musk getting tax breaks and kissing up to Donald Trump in order to do so.
But they vote for, then why vote for Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
And I think that, of course, is the question.
It makes no sense.
And I think part of it has to do with the fact that, and I think we're still in a process of going through the data. It's important to say that.
Yes.
And I actually think that it's important to say that the people who are rushing to say, let me give you my grand theory of what's going on right now.
The problem is you went too woke. Sorry, Kamala Harris was running with Liz Cheney at her side. She wasn't going, quote unquote, woke.
If we had an election on November 5th and November 6th, you've got an answer.
Right.
Don't listen to those people.
I agreed.
Do not listen to them.
You heard that, family? She basically said, if you voted on November 5th and you got your answer on election day, don't listen to we the people. You see how far removed these people are? They basically saying don't listen to what you voted for in regards of why we voted the way we voted. So do not listen to the voices of American people. What are we talking about here? Then why are you acting so concerned about listening to the voices of the American people as of why they voted Republican or why they voted this way because you wanted to get a perspective? But see, you're not listening. You heard, but you're not actually listening to understand. You know what I'm saying? She's not paying attention because she's not trying to understand. She's hearing what she needs to know to basically back up and justify that they did no wrong. They're still standing on the point of, oh, we did everything right, but we just didn't get the message through them the right way. So they basically telling us, the American people, oh, we was right. We knew what we were talking about. Our messages was right. We did no wrong, but we just didn't articulate it the right way to make sure you get it more. So they're standing on business in regards of, you know what? We couldn't have done nothing wrong. We did everything right. But we just didn't make them hear it enough. So the people who voted November 5th, don't listen to them. As a result of what the result was when they voted November 5th, and we seen a result November 6th, don't listen to none of those people because we got it right. You hear what I'm saying, family? They're deaf, and they're so far removed from the regular everyday people concerns. And at the end of the day, the regular everyday people didn't like your agenda. Democrats, that's the whole point. They didn't like your agenda, and at the end of the day, we the people are not stupid. You see what I'm saying? But let's continue.
Cosign.
So I want to say that we should all have the humility of saying this is an ongoing learning process. However, there is something to be said about it doesn't matter that he's lying. He's saying that I'm fighting for you. In all of this debate that people are talking about with this woke thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's because we care about trans people and that's why.
And by the way,
a backlash.
only Donald Trump cared about trans people because he was the one running $130 million worth of ads. The Harris campaign said nothing about this issue.
That's right. That's right. And listen, the ads, it's not to even deny the fact that these ads were effective in certain areas. What I think people are paying too much attention to is the first half of that ad, which says Kamala Harris is for they, them. Everyone's focusing on that. They're not focusing on the second half of that ad, where he said Donald Trump is for you.
Yeah.
And Democrats very often in their messaging, they speak in terms and in concepts and not in the second person. I care about you. And political races are not about one candidate versus another candidate. Too often it gets pigeonholed like that. It is a race to convince a person about who cares about you more.
Let me ask you this question.
We're just going to stop it there, family. At the end of the day, family, what I have to say is we the people are smarter and wiser than they give us credit for. And it's not that we want the credit because the result speaks for itself why Donald Trump is president. But what I'm trying to say is, family, they're basically trying to convince themselves that they got it right and they standing on the right issues, and the people just didn't get it. That's what they're basically telling us in this segment. We didn't get it. The messaging, you just didn't get it, American people. It's a misunderstanding. Like, hey, like we didn't see y'all running billions of dollars worth of ads, paying people to convince us, all these entertainers, that Trump is a madman. Trump is horrible. He's a Hitler, right? All these personal attacks, right? And then what people did was they did their own due diligence. They researched, they got informed, and they said, you know what? His delivery might be messed up, but he's speaking on some real true stuff about inflation, about these illegal immigrants coming over. the migrants crisis. You know, our tax dollars being put in places that are not for the best interest of the American people, and they're spending them so frivolous spending. The deficit of how much debt that we're in as a country, and we keep getting slandered with taxes, inflation, groceries is so high, gas prices is high. And we see these things, the everyday American people, myself included, because I'm no outcast. And then we look at it from 2016 and we say, look, man, y'all trying to finesse. Y'all trying to finesse us, bruh. Y'all trying to finesse us like we don't see what y'all doing. So it's more so, oh, listen to what y'all say and not what y'all do? Huh, you thought so. You thought so. You thought that was going to happen. We became smarter and wiser. And you should listen to the American people and those individuals that voted November 5th, and the result spoke for itself November 6th. Because besides the 80% that voted from the Democratic plantation, you know, that certain demographic, but we are getting smarter and we are getting wiser because we are amazing. We are the people. And at the end of the day, they need to wake up and read the room, family. But on that note, family, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give this video a big thumbs up. On that note, family, peace.